It always starts the same way, quietly, almost invisibly. You find yourself saying, "I'm sorry," more often. Sometimes you don't even know what you're apologizing for. You just want the tension to stop. They sigh, they look disappointed, or they pull away in silence, and your instinct kicks in. You rush to fix the energy, to make things feel okay again. You take responsibility for emotions that aren't even yours. That's not kindness, that's conditioning. The truth is, manipulative people don't need to yell to control you. They just need to teach your brain that peace comes only after you surrender. Every time you apologize to stop the discomfort, they learn how easy it is to make you bend. And little by little, you stop apologizing for your mistakes and start apologizing for your existence. In this video, you'll learn the psychology behind that process, how guilt becomes a weapon, how they train you to break your own boundaries, and how to stop feeling sorry for things you never did. Because awareness breaks the cycle. And once you see it, you'll never say "I'm sorry" the same way again. Think about it. You're in the middle of a conversation, something small, maybe even funny, and suddenly their mood shifts. They sigh. Their expression changes. You ask what's wrong, and they answer, "Forget it," but you can't because now your mind is racing. Did I say something wrong? Did I hurt them? Maybe I should just apologize. You say "I'm sorry," even though you don't know why, and just like that, the balance changes. Not because you were guilty, but because you wanted peace. It happens in relationships, friendships, families, even at work. Someone makes you feel responsible for their disappointment, and you take the blame to avoid conflict. They punish you with silence or a cold tone or passive disapproval, and your empathy fills in the blanks. That's how it starts. You apologize to escape discomfort, then you apologize to prevent it. Then one day, you apologize just for existing in a way they don't like. And when that day comes, you don't even realize you've been trained. But how does that training work? How do they make guilt feel like the only way to survive emotionally? That's what you're about to understand. Here's the psychology behind it. Manipulative people understand something most don't. Guilt is one of the fastest ways to control a mind, because guilt doesn't come from logic, it comes from empathy. You feel bad because you care, and they know that. So they start using your empathy like a leash, tightening it, loosening it, and watching how you respond. 1. The emotional trigger. They create small moments of discomfort, a sigh, an eye roll, a long pause after you speak. Your brain immediately interprets it as something's wrong. Because humans are wired to maintain social harmony, your nervous system reacts as if there's danger. You want to fix it, so you apologize, even when you didn't cause it. 2. The reward pattern. When you apologize, their attitude softens. They act calm again. That relief you feel, it's dopamine, your brain rewarding you for ending the tension. And that's how it learns. Apology. Peace. But the peace doesn't come from resolution. It comes from submission. 3. The reinforcement cycle. Next time they want control, they just recreate the discomfort. Maybe they ignore a text, give a short answer, or use the phrase, "You always take things the wrong way." Instantly, your brain remembers the rule, apologize, and it will stop. And that's how they rewire you. You stop asking, "Did I do something wrong?" and start thinking, "What can I say to make this better?" But what's worse than their manipulation is what comes next, when your brain starts doing the work for them. Here's the dark truth. Eventually, they don't even need to manipulate you anymore. You start doing it to yourself. You wake up walking on eggshells, editing your tone, filtering your feelings, calculating every word before it leaves your mouth. You apologize preemptively just in case. You call it keeping the peace, but deep down, you know it's survival. That's the moment control becomes invisible, when the cage is inside your mind. Because by then, you're no longer apologizing to them. You're apologizing to the version of them that lives in your head. And that's the genius of emotional conditioning. They don't just change your behavior, they change your definition of safety. You start to believe that peace means pleasing. You start to believe that being good means never disappointing anyone. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. The real reason they punish you isn't because you were wrong. It is because your strength threatens their control. Every time you speak your truth, they lose influence. So they teach you that truth is dangerous, that boundaries are betrayal, that silence equals love. They don't want peace. They want your self-blame. Because a guilty person is predictable, and predictability is power. You've spent so long feeling like you were the problem. But what if you were never the problem at all? What if your guilt was the evidence of your goodness, and they used it to keep you quiet? That's the moment you start waking up. That's the moment they lose their grip. Now that you can see the pattern, the question becomes, how do you break it? How do you stop apologizing for things you didn't do without becoming cold or defensive? 1. Pause before every "I'm sorry." The next time you feel the urge to apologize, stop for 2 seconds and ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong, or am I trying to make someone else comfortable? That single pause rewires your brain. It reminds you that guilt and responsibility are not the same thing. 2. Replace apology with awareness. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry you're upset," say, "I can see that you're upset." See the difference? The first makes you responsible for their emotions. The second simply acknowledges reality. It's empathy, without self-blame. 3. Get comfortable with discomfort. Manipulators use tension as a weapon because they know you'll do anything to escape it. But when you learn to sit calmly inside that discomfort, to breathe and let it pass, you take away their power. They can't pull your strings if silence doesn't scare you anymore. 4. Redefine peace. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of clarity. Sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is let someone stay upset while you stay grounded. 5. Start forgiving yourself. You've spent years apologizing for imaginary crimes. Now it's time to forgive yourself for believing you were guilty. That's how healing begins, when you stop begging for forgiveness and start giving it to yourself. Because once guilt stops working as a leash, they have nothing left to pull. You don't owe anyone an apology for being human, for feeling too much, for asking questions, for wanting peace without surrender. They made you believe that your empathy was a flaw, that your honesty was confrontation, and your silence was failure. But that was never the truth. The truth is simple. They needed you to doubt yourself so they could stay in control. And now you see it. From this moment on, every time the word sorry reaches your lips, stop and ask yourself, am I taking responsibility or am I taking the blame? That single question can free you from years of invisible control. Because once you stop apologizing for things you didn't do, you stop carrying emotions that were never yours. And what's left after that? Peace. Not the fragile kind that depends on other people's moods, but the kind that comes from finally trusting yourself again. You don't need to explain your heart anymore. You just need to protect it. Subscribe to the channel and don't stop at this video. They're still using tricks you haven't noticed yet. The next video will show you exactly how they do it. And once you see it, you'll never see people the same way again.